Somebody, give me a drum roll, please. And I ruined it. One more time, with feelings. I finished writing the first draft of my book. Whew, there we go. I said it. You know, I have imagined myself being here this day when I have finally finished it. When I first started writing it, when it was just a seed of an idea. You know, you imagine yourself at that point, a finish line. Not exactly a finish line really, but you get my point. And nothing can prepare you for what it actually feels like, even when you imagine that. Because actually finishing writing this whole draft is an incredible feeling, you know? You're just... It's weird, it's fantastic, but there's also a sense of something somber, because there's no next chapter to write, you know? And when I think about it, well, the next chapter is happening in my life right now, from now on. But there's something somber about it, but it's also a really, really good feeling. And something I find even most important is actually a very, very humbling experience to be able to write a whole damn book. As you know, we live in times of great consumption. We consume media that is so easily available to us, from books to music to films to series and so on. And you know, it's all available on your phone. Well, this is not your phone, this is my phone. I didn't steal yours, I promise, but you get what I'm trying to say. And it's all available here so easily. And sometimes, you know, you forget just how much work goes into creating anything, you know, from a song to a book to a film to a video game. Don't get me started on video games, those take ages, and like hundreds of people working on them non-stop. And so it's really humbling to be able to actually finish something. And I'm someone who always has like 1 million ideas about things I want to do. I would like to do everything. My life is too short, and so I very often start projects and don't finish them. It's a very common thing for me. And so actually being able to get this far, to write a whole damn draft, for me, that's a huge achievement. It took me almost 1 year. I started writing in May last year, and now I finished it in April 2025. That's more or less 11 months, minus 2 months in the summer when I wasn't writing because my grandpa was in hospital, and then I had problems with my stomach. So that's 2 months of not writing. Then I took a break in December for Christmas, 1 month, and then in March I was practically sick with the worst flu ever for 1 month. That totally knocked me off my feet. So that's like 7 months of writing to write a whole draft. And let me tell you, it is long. It's like a Stephen King novel. It's longer than the New Testament in the Bible, and shorter than the Old Testament. But you can imagine just how long this whole thing is. It has more than 200,000 words. That's a lot of words written in 1 year. And then add to that the fact that every video I post on YouTube, that is sort of like a video essay, I always write it first for myself before I make a video. And those can be like 20 pages in a Word document, something like that. So if you combine all the notes I take with pen and paper, that's a lot of writing in 1 year. I think I write as much as I sleep, to be honest. That's crazy. That's crazy. Obviously, this book is too long. I will have to shorten it, and that's the sad part, you know, because I love every part of it, but at the same time, I think, you know, it can be shortened by half without it losing much of the intended meaning and message. So that, I think honestly doing that will be more difficult than actually writing, to be completely honest. I'm not looking forward to it. Not looking forward to it at all. Now, about the book itself, you know, there aren't many books about detransition out there. And some that actually have been published, I think they're actually trying to be controversial around this subject. And the thing about this book, is it controversial? I mean, I think it's impossible to not be controversial about this subject at all, no matter what your opinion is. I think that when people will pick this book up, you know, no matter when you stand on the topic of trans and detrans, if you're conservative or you're liberal, if you're a trans person, if you're a detransitioner yourself, there will be things in this book that you would probably agree with, and there will be things that you would probably disagree with. One thing I wanted to do when I was writing it is to be completely honest about what I think. I was thinking, you know, this is not the kind of book that I want to pander to either conservatives or to the trans community or to other detransitioners. I think it's coming from me, you know, and I think it's a book that's important to approach with an open mind. I think it's a book for open-minded people who are interested in this subject and exploring this subject. And yeah, there will be a lot of people who will probably disagree with me one way or another. I mean, a lot of the time I also disagree with myself. That's how my thought processes usually work. I argue with myself in my head. So, you know, I have a lot of contradicting opinions, and so to find out what works best, I sort of debate them in my head. This book, if you think it's a book, just a book about detransition, I think detransition is really like the first layer of what this book is about. But after you strip that first layer, you might see this is about much more than detransition. This is a book about mental health. This is a book about addiction. This is a book about resilience, overcoming pain and depression. It is also sort of a philosophical journey, which if you've been following my channel, you might know what I'm talking about. So if you are curious how I became the person I am today, both philosophically and emotionally, this is all in this book. This book is also somewhat of a research paper on the subject of detransition. It is also a collection of testimonies of other people who have an experience with either transition or detransition. And it is sort of a fiction novel and a memoir on top of that. And what I mean by fiction, now everything that happened in my life in this book is true. I'm not writing a fiction. I think that would be counterproductive to what I'm trying to achieve. I'm not telling lies about myself there. No, but I married the ideas of non-fiction and fiction in this book because I was thinking, you know what, the mental journey that I was taking, which is also a huge portion of this book, is written in a purely fictive format. Things symbolizes something, shit like that, and some of it I don't even tell you straight out what it means. I leave a lot of things to the reader's interpretations. So, you know, I will not tell you that this is a good book, this is a bad book. I'm not going to tell you whether it's going to provide something of value to society, because I can't really know that. But there is one thing I'm fairly confident in, and that is that after you read this, you will think to yourself, I don't think I have ever read a book like that. You know? Usually I don't ever read memoirs. Memoir is not exactly the type of book I would usually read. And so when I first started writing it, I wanted to write it in a different way than a memoir would be. It's... yeah, I think because if I have that perspective, I think this book is suitable for people who don't usually read memoirs, because it's just something very different. I did something very different here. When it comes to the structure of this book, it has 24 chapters. 6 of those are chapters that work as philosophical essays on specific topics about the trans stuff. And some of those topics I have covered on this YouTube channel, whereas some others I have never covered here. There's actually a lot of stuff in this book that I haven't talked about on this channel. And the rest of the chapters are more narrative driven. Originally I had idea to have more of those more theoretical chapters there, but eventually I was thinking maybe that's too much, so I incorporated some of those ideas into the more narrative-driven chapters. Finishing the whole draft is only the first part of the work, because now I'll have to review all of that, change some things, remove some things, maybe go in more in depth on some other things. Actually, I have had the pleasure of working with a really good storytelling coach, and she gave me so much more advice, like where I went too much into details on some things, where there are some details that are missing that I could explain more. And I think actually having that sort of insight would be really helpful to me when I'll be working on the second draft. And I want to shorten this novel, not only because I think it will be more accessible to more people if it's shorter, but also because most publishers they're not very willing to publish very long books. I don't know, I don't think I want to go lower than 120,000 words. And you know, from like the very early days of me doing those videos on YouTube, I have always been about building the bridges between the trans and trans community, and this book is no different. And I said this will be my final contribution to this whole debate, and it is. And I think this is just a great conclusion to all the work I've been doing so far here on YouTube and in real life as well. So I hope it will change something. I hope it will move this conversation in the right direction to find proper solutions, peaceful solutions. But honestly, this is where my role in it ends, because I have moved on, and this actually, when I wrote this book, this really confirmed for me that I moved on, and it is that what I enjoyed writing the most is when I wasn't really writing about the transition, but rather mental health and some reflections on different things. You know, at the point when I made this video in autumn, half a year ago, that I don't want to make more videos about the transition, right? Well, except this update, because an update like that is a big thing, and I told you when I finish writing this book I will make an update on it. But around that time I have had some people, friends and acquaintances, telling me, you know, you don't have to write this book if you don't want to. Like, I was moving on at the time, but you know what? I am glad I didn't listen to them. And let me tell you why I am glad that I didn't listen to them and I actually did write this book. It's because going through such a retrospective of my whole life has actually helped me a lot. I'm not kidding. So yeah, I'm writing this primarily because I wanted this to be my final contribution in how I think the conversations about this subject should go in the future, but I was also doing it for myself because I went through my whole life, and what an emotional roller coaster it was, you know? I mean, when you imagine a writer and author sitting and writing a book, you know, imagine them sitting there and just typing a very serious look on their face. That was nothing like it. I was laughing my ass off when writing this. I was crying my eyes out. I was pacing around the room back and forth, and I was snacking. I was snacking quite a lot when writing. Actually, I was so consumed by writing, I haven't really exercised much this whole year. I have gained like 6-7 kilograms in 1 year since I started writing this book. So I don't know how much that is in pounds, 15, 16 pounds-ish. It's weird because, you know, when I think of pounds, I think of currency first and foremost. I guess it's an European thing. So I started exercising again this month. I go for walks. I walk every single day now, and I do some strength exercises like 3 times a week. So I've been doing it for 2 weeks now after I finished writing, and it feels good. It was a bit of a nightmare at first. I was so in pain, you know, after just sitting on my ass and writing for a whole year straight. So I think I already might have lost a kilogram or 2 in those 2 weeks. I feel like I have so much more energy now that I've actually been more active. But yeah, this book was quite a roller coaster, and it helped me both reconnect with my past, look at it from a new perspective, you know, more experienced, wiser perspective. There are some revelations I've had in this book which I didn't think that much of, not that much in depth. It just goes so much more in depth than anything you have seen on this channel, in all honesty. And I can say with full confidence that I am healed completely at this point, and I needed to do this for myself. Even when, you know, some parts of this book brought a lot of traumatic memories, and I've been actually struggling with my mental health at some point while I was writing this book. I made a video on Patreon. This is a Patreon exclusive video talking about this mental health breakdown I had during the writing process and how I handled it. So yeah, I think it will take a few more months to review the whole thing, to correct some spelling mistakes, change some sentences, and make some changes to the book. I think we're looking for another half a year, maybe, just for that process alone. I think I take one month break now after writing this, just to be more physically active and to spend more time with people, and to finish a video game I have started, which I haven't had a chance to finish, Disco Elysium. It's really good, actually. I would recommend it. And then there's the publishing process, which can also be a pretty long one. I think I'm going to get in touch with a literary agent by the time I'm getting closer to getting the final polished product. So well, yeah, maybe we're looking for a release date somewhere in 2026. I can't say with certainty, but I would like this book to hit the shelves in 2026. And one more thing I'd like to address before I go, you know, in January, or I think maybe already in December, I was talking about starting a new video series on this channel called Chapter by Chapter, in which I do a philosophical analysis of a book, and in each video I'll talk about a specific chapter of that book until I finish the book. So I postponed this project because I wanted to focus most of my time on writing. Now that I have finished it, I'm going to make those videos on YouTube. The first video in the series is dropping this month, and I'm not going to tell you what book it is. Will I give you the first letter? Well, should I? Should I give you the first letter? Yeah, you know, you've been good boys and girls. So B. It starts with B. And the next time I'll do an update on this book is by the time I have more or less polished it and got in touch with the literary agent which I don't know when it will be. Maybe the fall this year, probably. I hope. I think I'll do a lot of writing this summer, or not writing, but reviewing, or yeah, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, have a fantastic day, guys. Have a great week, month, whatever. I'll be making more videos from now on this channel, because there's been a while where there was very little activity here. Yeah, there was very little of that. Okay, see you soon. Ciao.